doesn't pay? That's a good question, bro. Look, I like the UAE system, right? Because there's an Islamic derivative behind it. They don't tax anybody. Okay, now, granted, if you're a foreigner or a non-Muslim, maybe they don't tax you, but that's one thing, right? If you are a Muslim yourself and you're living in these countries and, they decide that they don't want to tax you, well, then that's great, right? I mean, why not take that opportunity? But for the government to choose to tax you, and then for a person to choose to alleviate themselves away from those taxes, I don't think should be a fault to anybody, and it should not be a bear of responsibility. Like, hey, you're not paying your taxes, so therefore you're not helping the poor and the destitute. Well, I mean, I'm sure Khabib helps the poor and the destitute in his own way, but not in a way to fund the government of Russia, which I quite frankly don't blame him. By the way, I need you guys to understand something, right? I want you to understand a couple of things about Khabib. He told Islam that he doesn't want him to fight at the White House. You know that? Khabib does not want Islam to fight at the White House. Now, why is that? Well, the reason why he doesn't want him to fight at the White House is because there's a lot of political implications behind it. I really mean that. There's a lot of political implications behind why he does not want him to fight at the White House. Okay? And those political implications deal with the fact that America is friends with Israel. And not only is America friends with Israel, America has supported the genocide of Muslims around the world. And let's not forget the Iraq War. Everybody talks about Israel, right? How Israel is, the big bad wolf of the Middle East. Well, what about America? Well, you can argue that America sort of was propelled by Israel to do these things. I mean, I don't know how accurate that is, but you can certainly make that assumption. But make no mistake, the Muslim world is still very much angry with the fact that America has invaded Iraq, has invaded Afghanistan, and has invaded Yemen, or has facilitated Yemen through proxies of some kind of way, right? That is the reality of the situation. Khabib has his reasons why he does not want Islam Makhachev to fight at the White House. Now, you're probably wondering, well, didn't Khabib meet Donald Trump? And didn't he have a great conversation with him? What did Donald Trump say about Khabib exactly? Right? He said something very interesting about Khabib. Let me see if I can pull that up right here. While I read these comments, David Rivera says, I'm back. Welcome back, my man. Fresh Melon Juice says, Serious F. Apparently not more than Arabs. I don't know what that is in reference to. He redacted his statement on that one. But okay, let's hear what Donald Trump had to say about Khabib. Let's hear what he had to say about Khabib here. This was, I believe, on a Joe Rogan podcast that he had mentioned this, or okay, right here. I
don't know. I got a little girl. I gotta see. I think.
Oh, okay. You know what? This is during Cage Side. Look, this is what he said to Donald Trump during Cage Side right here. So Trump tells Khabib he will stop the war in Gaza. We are going to stop it. This was right before Donald Trump got reelected as president again.
Well, is it? I don't know. I got a little girl. I gotta see. I think this could be everything. Well, is it?
Okay, so that was Dustin Poirier in the background, obviously, after a post-fight win. So, okay. All right, this is what Donald Trump had to say about Khabib. So there it is. Very smart guy, very interesting guy. Okay, so he takes a liking to Trump. That's fine. I need you guys to understand something within the minds of a Muslim, okay? We don't look at a government the way that we look at the people. We look at the people as innocent. Donald Trump, even though he is the government, okay, even though he is the establishment, and some on the MAGA side will argue that, well, he is the most non-establishment type of politician ever. The one thing you got to understand about Donald Trump is that, yes, he is a bit of a rogue, but he is not the overall reflection of America's history. You understand? He is not the, he did not cause the wars in the Middle East. Although I will say that Trump was probably responsible for bombing innocent Muslims at some point of his political career, at some point of being the commander in chief and being that guy who holds the red button of doom to whatever place he wants to bomb on any God-given day. But overall, when you're talking about the White House fight, you're talking about a symbol of American hegemony around the world, right? You're talking about the American sense of supremacy towards the world. And I don't think Khabib wants Islam to be a part of that. Now, Islam seems to be very adamant in wanting to fight at the White House. Well, why is that? Well, him and Khabib are two different people, but at the same time, he also listens to everything that Khabib says. So if Khabib says that I don't want you to fight at the White House, he's not going to fight at the White House. He listens to Khabib because even though he is a double champion, by the end of the day, Khabib is still the commander-in-chief of Team Eagle in the not only in the training room, but also the commander-in-chief of their team when it comes to prayers. If you ever notice, Khabib leads most of the prayers, and that's not by accident. It's because he knows the Quran, memorizes the Quran more than anybody else in the team, and that is the reason why he is not only world champion, but that is also the reason why they have him lead the prayers as a result of that. So what I'm trying to say is that Islam Makhachev has a great chance of not fighting at the White House because of political reasons. And I just explained to you the political reasons and the Muslim sentiments that they have for the American government, not the American people. And I need you to understand that, right? When I was in Egypt and I visited Egypt, one of the most common things that I would hear from people when they say, oh, you are from America, America, wahish, wahish, America. You know what wahish means? Means bad, no good, right? Or evil or some sort, right? That's how they see America. But when they say that, they are not talking about me as an American, and in particular an American who's Muslim. They are not talking about regular Americans or just, you know, regular Joes or regular Marty Millers of America. They are literally talking about the U.S. government. So when Khabib says that he doesn't want Islam Makhachev to fight at the White House, this is the reason why. This is the overall sentiment of Muslims around the world. Now, you got to remember, the world that we live in right now, very much different from the 9/11 era. During the 9/11 era, right, most Arabs, Muslims, and people of that persuasion were heavily discriminated. And based on paranoia, based on trauma that had happened in 9/11. But now we live in a world where Turkey al-Sheikh, okay, a Saudi royal deputy, is now running boxing. And now Mohammed bin Salman, his boss, his childhood friend that he grew up with, a guy that he served with in, well, I guess in the apparatus of military intelligence with, you know, the Saudis' intelligence service, and the guy that he grew up with watching hours and hours of WWE wrestling and boxing and MMA, is now the head of that country, even though his father, who's the king, is still alive. Mohammed bin Salman is really running everything. So he goes from being the minister of defense to literally being the head of state, right? While still holding on to those positions as well. Nonetheless, very influential. They have Trump in their back pocket. They're doing deals around the world. They are holding leverage and power over Russia and America. So it's safe to say that not only are the Saudis running boxing, MMA, and now WWE, But the majority of the people that are dominating MMA are now Muslims. And guess what? We now live in a world where it's cool to be Muslim. The one thing you got to understand, though, it doesn't change the fact that the overall sentiments that Muslims have is still there. And if you're wondering why Islam Makhachev is not going to fight at the White House, this is why. Now, what about Ilia Topuria, right? He comes into this whole entire mix as well, right? They have talks of Ian Gary possibly fighting Islam Makhachev. Okay, well, here's the thing about it, right? Ilia Topuria is looking to drop his belt. He doesn't want to fight Paddy Pimblett in January. He doesn't want to fight Justin Gaethje. Maybe they're going to vacate the belt, have Ilia Topuria move up to fight at 170, fight against Islam, and nowhere near will that fight be landing at the White House. Not whatsoever. Maybe just right before the White House, maybe a May card, maybe an April card, somewhere after Ramadan. But make no mistake, there is a great chance that Islam Makhachev is not going to fight at the White House. Now, him and Khabib are the opposite. As I've told you, Khabib is the commander-in-chief of that team. Everybody does what he says. But why did Islam even say or initiate that he said he wanted to fight at the White House? Well, all politics aside, there's a prestige that comes with that. And with that prestige, obviously, there is glory and sports glory behind that. But by the end of the day, yes, they go for sports glory like anybody else. Yes, they go for greatness like everybody else. But by the end of the day, understand this. Khabib is a Muslim through and through. And what I mean by being a Muslim through and through is that he is going to hold the sentiments of Muslims around the world, which means that Islam Makhachev will not fight at the White House.
Simpletons that see your sense of reasonability as a sign of wokeness. This is an intellectual sloth way of living. Blessing to you, my British man, Sacramento, CA. Can I say, Kyrie is a fantastic MMA career, and I'm not just glazing him, because he has obviously illuminated the fact that I'm an intellectual giant. Shout out to you, sir. But Kyrie does have a phenomenal YouTube channel, really good creator. He has a beard that anyone would be jealous over, especially me, as somebody who cannot grow one. Shout out to Kyrie, really good creator. Give the guy a sub. He definitely deserves it. Another person who has reasonable, well thought out takes. Frankie, I still have some friends in London.